start sharing. So I put a link into the chat if everyone wants to click on the link to get into the slides. So the slides I'm going to use today, I'm very happy for you all to have access to them. And I'm going to start now. So if you haven't yet gone in, if you want to go into the slides, that's the tiny URL. And you will need to access the slides at some point, and I will drop it in again. So let's get started. So today I'm going to look at particularly the level 1 and 2 Matariki lessons that are on NZ Maths, but I will also mention briefly level 3 and 4. But we're going to look at level 1 and 2. And these, so we're going to look at that, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a introduction. So when I was starting to think about developing this session, I was walking along my local walkway and I found this lovely poem that was there from, I guess, students, local students and teachers had been involved in setting this up. And I just thought it was really nice that, you know, all of a sudden I'd noticed this poem about the mist stirred in the soft darkness before dawn, sighing as she unfurled and lifted from the hollows. And I just think about the last few days, particularly around Auckland, but possibly in other parts of the country, where this whole mist has been happening. And it feels so good for the fact that we are just starting Matariki today. So it felt very appropriate. And if you do live in Auckland and want to find it, this is just showing you where it is. If you've never come across it before, there's Ceramco Park, which is in West Auckland, and there's a lovely walkway along the side there. So if you ever wanted to go and find the poem for yourself, that's where it is. And that's not too far from where I hang out. So there are a number of places that you can go and find information about Matariki and the stars, the 9 stars of Matariki. And this is just one of them. This is from sciencelearn.org. So there's lots of ways you can connect across curricula as well. And this year, I hope I've got my dates right, but today is the first day of Matariki and it goes until the 11th of July. So it's a wonderful starting time for us if we're thinking about things we can do with our students next week in class. So I'm going to start by looking at level 1. And what I'm showing you here basically is the achievement objectives that are linked to the level 1 unit. And you can see there that there's a mixture of measurement, geometry, more number, and statistics. So it's a really nice across the curriculum, across the mathematics strands unit. And this one here is looking for, it's really just giving some meaningful context that we can connect the mathematics in for the students. And if you are in the slides at any time and you want to go, that's the link to the unit on NZ Maths, but I'm not actually going to take us there. I'm just going to give you a summary of what's involved. So at level 1, there are 5 sessions. And the first session looks at exploring stars with a focus on shape and symmetry. And we're going to look a little bit more closely at how we could do that one definitely in an electronic way. Then session 2 looks at exploring the whakapapa, and that's really a big focus as much as obviously the connection to social studies and where we're from, but also has that doubling and counting in 2s. Session 3 looks at music and games, and there's a big focus on fractions. Session 4 looks at cooking a hangi and predicting a good year, so it's about sequencing events and chance events. And session 5 is looking at making rewena para ora bread, and that's about measuring quantities and equal sharing. And there is also a home link in the activity that's on exploring shape and sequencing events. So you can see quite a broad range across the mathematics curriculum in that unit. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the activity 1, making stars. And I'm going to show you, we're going to go and have a play in a moment at using the online pattern blocks. And this was when I first looked at this unit of work, it was about a year ago, and I was working with some teachers in Thames, and in fact, it might have been even earlier, and they were just looking at, we were still, I think at the time, online a little bit for learning, and so we were looking at options for where we might not be able to get equipment to students. But also students are a little bit more interactive with technology, and this technology works fine on an iPad or I've not tried it on other pads, on other, what do you call those things? But anyway, it works fine on my iPad. Anyway, so I'm going to, in a minute, give you a little play on polygons, but sorry, on the Polypad making the things, but we'll just have a look at what you're going to do, and then I'll let you loose. So, and you have got access to the slideshow, so you can go and have a look at it. But we're going to start with making a simple star, and I'll show you how it works to rotate. And then we're going to look at growing the star by adding more shapes to it and making copies. And then we'll look at making some different stars. All right, so that's what you're going to do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and show you Polypad briefly, and then I'm going to let you have a play. So this is the Polypad, and you can see there's lots of things in it. We're going to actually open up geometry. And so to start with, I was making a shape that had a blue on the outside, and I feel like they've changed the triangles on me, but we'll use this triangle here. Okay, so I'm going to try and make this star that was in the picture. So I've got there the first one in. Now, when I click on another one, that one isn't going to fit around any of my sizes. So I simply rotate it by pulling the handle there. All right, so that's just so you know how to rotate. It's not, it's pretty intuitive, but I think it's always nice to just see. All right, so that's making the first star, but you can invent your own one. But later on, you're going to need to copy it. So you highlight the shape, and then you click on the little plus, and that gives you a copy. Ugh. And you've got to be very quick at grabbing it, because otherwise you end up with what I've got there. But you get the idea. You copy it, and then you move the whole shape if you want to move the shape. If you want to change the color, you click on this little dot here, and you can change the color. All right, I think that's probably all you need to know. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to give you 5 to 10 minutes to just go in and have a play with the polygons and trying out the software. So if you haven't, you'll need to go into the, let me just escape out of that. You'll need to go into the slideshow and click on the link here to take you to Polypad. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to give you some time to go and have a play. And I'll stay online, obviously, and people can either ask me questions through the chat, or they can unmute and talk. And Marla, I think you might still be screen sharing. So I'm hoping everyone saw the slides.
Yep, we saw them. That looks good from our end.
All right. No, you're not, Marla. It's all right. It was something else that popped up. Okay, so if people can go into Polypad and try and make some stars. Just dropping the link to the Polypad into the chat if people want to go there, and I'll put the slideshow link in again as well for people that may have missed it at the start. Okay, so the Polypad link is in the chat, And I've just put the slideshow link in the chat.
Pip wondered if there is an option to, make a copy the chat messages onto a document, or is it enough if it is? I'm not sure if there's an option to copy the chat messages onto a document. In case
Yes, you do. On the side, there's a thing that says more down the bottom.
Yeah, I looked at that.
And it says save chat. There's a little 3 dots.
Participant can, it is.
So you go to where you might want to type in.
Okay. Oh.
And it says file.
Yeah.
I think you, and then beside that, there's 3 dots. And if you click on the 3 dots, it says save chat.
Okay, so you have to go into where you want to type in first, because otherwise the 3 dots is just talking about participants who they can chat with.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. You just go where you want to type it and then copy at the end, we can do that if you need to. Yeah. Polypad is so amazing.
So you've had about 5 minutes. I'm going to give you another 3 to 4 minutes to play. And if you feel like you've exhausted polygons, do have a explore through the rest of the exam activities that are available on the Polypad while you're there. Okay, well, shall we stop there? And I'll carry on through. I know that you'll be able to find time to go back and have a play. I've just been puzzling about this one that I thought I could make it tessellate, but I've realised that I can't. So anyway, I'm sure that you will have the same sort of fun playing with it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at a little activity for level 2. So at level 2, again covering similar strands of the mathematics curriculum, so measurement and geometry. So here we're getting into describing plane shapes and predicting and communicating results of translations and reflections, more about additive strategies, and then a bit more about conducting investigations. And surprisingly for me, I'm not going to go anywhere near the statistics. I'm going to keep in more of the geometry. But this one here, level 2, so that a little bit higher, the maths has gone up a bit. And in particular, the sessions that are included, you can see there's the first one is looking at using part-whole strategies. And then the second one, fishing by the moon, exploring the structure of calendars. Third one is planning for a hangi, and that's where the statistical investigation and budgeting comes in. We're going to look a little bit at 5, the string games and exploring shape. And then there's session 5, which is Mu Toreri. It's a drafts-like game and looking more about strategy games and symmetry. And again, there's a home link that you can use with the students. So hopefully we've all come prepared with our piece of string, and you probably wondered, why did I get you a piece of string? So we're going to look at 5 string games. To get your string about the right length, I recommend you wrap it around your hand 8 times. That gives you about the right length, and then you cut it and you tie a knot in it. So I'm just going to give you a moment if you haven't got your strings ready, but you're going to need your piece of string. And in the actual activity, I'll chat while you're organising that, there is instructions for making the 2 of diamonds. But actually, I found this gorgeous Miss Emery, and if any of you know Miss Emery, you can tell her I think she's gorgeous. And she goes through and she explains how to do a number. I think she's got about 6 different string games that you can do. And in a moment, I'm going to play the 2 of diamonds one, so we can all do it together. All right, so I'm going to give you another 30 seconds to get yourself organised with your string. Okay, right, so we're going to play Miss Emery, and hopefully the sound will work. I've tested it with Marla, so we should be all good. Okay.
Kia ora tamariki mā. We are now making our 3rd 5 pattern, and this one is called 2 of diamonds. Nā taimana e rua. Okay, first we're going to start off how we always do. 1 thumb. Place the string around the thumb. Then the 2nd thumb's joining the party, and so are our 2 pinkies. Ka pai? Cool. Now with finger number 1, we're going to pick up the string from our other palm, going under, picking up, pulling tight. We're going to do the same with our other palm. Finger number 1, going to pick up the string on finger number 1, going under and pulling tight. Perfect. Now we are going to drop our thumbs. Ka pai. Now with our thumbs, we are going to pick up the bottom string. So we're going over, all the way to the bottom, and picking up the string. Right. Now we are going to place finger number 1 string over the thumb. So it is around finger number 1 and the thumb. Now we are going to do the same with the other side. So grabbing the string from finger number 1 and placing it over our thumb. Tino pai. Now once again we have 2 strings on our thumbs. So we want to do the same as we did last time. We are going to get the string, the back string, the one closest to us. We're going to use our mouth again. We're going to pick it up and put it over. There we go. Now we have 2 little triangles. We want to place both our finger number 1s in the triangles. Perfect. Pinch your fingers up against your palms nice and tight. And now we are going to let go with our pinkies. So take off pinky, take off the other pinky. Perfect. Now this is the very we are going to bring our thumbs towards us, turning our hands around like we are going to give someone a high 10. Okay, so just watch very carefully. Bringing it towards us, turning our hands around, giving someone a high 10. And there we go. We have 2 of diamonds. Ka pai tamariki.
So she has another one, which is also very lovely. So I will allow you time in your own time to go and explore Miss Emery and her string games or her fight. And I just love the way that she does it in a really nice, gentle pace. That means that if we are working with students and we have the unfortunate that we do have to work online, it's actually quite a nice pace to work at. So that's one of the activities. Now, obviously, if we have got we've just looked at the making the 2 of diamonds, but actually, why have we made it and what's the important things here? So that's one of the things we need to think about is we've made it, but what are we picking out of it? So the things that we can find in our 2 of diamonds that we can talk about with students in some of the language. So for example, the shapes that we're seeing. So we've obviously got the 2 of diamonds, but what other shapes can I see in my string? Can I see parallel lines? Can I see intersecting lines and things like that? So that's the sort of the bigger picture, and all of that is in the instructions on the NZ Maths on what we can do there. So I just want to briefly talk to you and show you what's at level 3. So if you are working, so this was aimed at level 1 and 2, but you may either teach across or have other teachers in your school that you want to share with it. So again, you can see here at level 3, still some measurement, more geometry, so that nice connection through. At level 3 number, we're starting to get into more of the algebra, so looking at patterns, and then there's more statistics. So as we've seen previously, this one has got 5 sessions. So exploring the stars that make up Matariki, looking at tukutuku patterns, some number patterns. There's some information about spinning tops, looking at core whaiwhai patterns and sort of transformation geometry, and then ki o rahi game, which is a measurement and geometry connected. So lots of options here for level 3 and level 4. So again, we've got measurement, geometry, number and statistics. And this one's got 4 sessions, but I think you'll find that these are a bit more complex. So the first one's looking at the constellation and looking at rotation and relationships using tables and graphs. Again, looking at whakapapa, but this time going to powers of 2 rather than just doubling and counting. More on tukutuku patterns, exploring number patterns, and then a lovely one there on manu tukutuku, the kites, and then the idea of scaling by percentages. So one of the last things I just want to talk with you briefly about before we finish up the session is actually the opportunity to go across the curriculum. And with these Matariki units that are on NZ Maths, they connect across the mathematics and statistics curriculum. We have an opportunity, especially in primary classrooms where we teach across the curriculum, to find those other beautiful connections that they have. And you may already have those connections and was looking for the mathematics connections. But one of the things I want to really talk about once we start going across curriculum is maintaining the authenticity of the mathematics and statistics practices. And I've got a couple of quotes here about integration. And there are a number of ways that we can do it. So we can look at integrating these by their shared discipline practices, or we can provide opportunities for students to engage in these practices while making explicit that they're doing so. So these are some ideas. And I just want to share with you as you think about it a bit more, so where I'm at in terms of my thinking around connecting across the curriculum. And a lot of the work I've done recently with schools has been about integrating mathematics and statistics across the curriculum. And I think there's two ways we can do this. And one of them is through the achievement objective integration, and the other way is through context integration. So when I mean achievement objective integration, I'm looking for maths and stats achievement objectives that can support another curriculum area, or I'm looking for where the maths and stats achievement objectives align directly with another curriculum area. So there's two things happening. So firstly, here's an example so in science, if we're looking at the property and changes of matter, students have got to do all of these things, which include obviously doing some measuring. And so that's where the mathematics achievement objective is really supporting the science one. So students have got to do measuring in science. Measuring is a mathematics toolkit thing that we have. Another example where they're aligned. So in maths, we conduct investigations using the statistical inquiry cycle. And in science, students have to understand about science, appreciate that scientists ask questions about our world that lead to investigations, and that open-mindedness is important because there may be more than one explanation. So those two are what I call aligned. So if we're doing the science inquiry, we definitely can look at how that statistical inquiry cycle sits alongside it. So we're actually achieving the outcomes for both areas. Those are both really powerful ways of ensuring that the mathematics is authentically integrated with another subject area. Sometimes we do connect just using the context, and so the context might also allow for a maths exploration, but it won't be as deeply integrated. I guess for me, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. The key thing is that the mathematics is authentic. And so one of the things that is in here is a link to two documents, and I think I've made these edits, so you can go in and add to them if you want to, or you can copy them and do the work within your school. But when I did this last time with the group of teachers, so what I've done is I've thought about connecting with achievement objectives. So I'll just show you what's in here. So for example, if I think about this nature of science, this is the achievement objective in science, and down the column are the mathematics achievement objectives that are involved. So that's the mathematics achievement objectives, and then these are the sessions that are in level 1. So if you wanted to, you could think about what science activities might connect up. All right, that's all. It's just, and there's a number of different headings. So here's another one, Planet Earth and Beyond, that might connect to this particular topic. Or in the social studies, we might look at understanding how belonging to groups is important. And that may specifically connect to the session on exploring whakapapa and things like that. So I don't know whether it's of any use to you or not, but that's what I have set up, and you're very welcome to use it. i.e. copy it and share it with other teachers or in your school, or just add to this one here. And then there's a similar one that's set up for the level 2 achievement objectives. So again, the stuff from the mathematics and statistics Matariki units is down here. So the achievement objectives and then the sessions. And then at the top are potential connections for the other subject areas. And it's really just an opportunity to brainstorm and dump some ideas if you want to go cross-curricular. Okay. And then just as we wrap up, these are just some other links that I've found for related to Matariki if people want them. And there's some really nice posters available through Te Wānanga or Aotearoa. And I also just some connections here to the online tools that we've used. So if you want to use this slideshow or share it with others, and you can connect them to this, I'm really happy for that to have happen. I think I've made it view only, but you're very welcome to copy it and adjust it and do whatever you like with it. And if you have any questions, feel free to flick me an email. That's my email there.